Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. MC Mura here, and in today's video we're gonna be talking about the wish list for Street Fighter 6. And in this video I'm not gonna be talking about gameplay. I have already made a video on what kind of mechanics I would like to see in that game. You will find a link to that in the card above. And I'm also not gonna be talking about the roster because I have made a roster prediction video as well. You will probably find that in the description or in the top comment. Today we are gonna be talking about the features that I would like to see in the game. And obviously, before I get into it, there are two of them that I think are given. And that is rollback netcode that is actually functional and really good because it seems to be the standard going forward. We have games like DNF, Guilty Gear Strive, King of Fighters. A lot of games these days have really good netcode, so that's a given. The other one is crossplay. I think if Street Fighter 5 had crossplay since day one, Street Fighter 6 kinda can't not have it. And with all that being said, let me start first with my first wish, and it is kinda selfish, but I would like Street Fighter 6 to be more of a social game, and one of the features that I would want is an online training mode. An online training mode is gonna be very helpful, especially for someone like me, because I get asked a lot to check out replays, I get asked a lot to how you do something, or hey, can you show me how to deal with X or Y? And an online training mode is the perfect tool to help you set this up. And it is a feature that was in a previous game. It was in Ultra Street Fighter 4. If you haven't played that, it is present in a handful of fighting games. Many of the NRS fighting games have online training mode. It's not like a genre standard yet, I will say, but it is present in a handful of fighting games, including Capcom fighting games themselves. Like Marvel Infinite actually had an online training mode, so I think it would be a great feature to have in the future title.
This is the path of my destiny.
My second wish for Street Fighter 6 is a strong emphasis on social features. I've talked about this on the set show, but one of my biggest issues with Street Fighter 5 is that it's very difficult to communicate with the other players in the game. And obviously if you are on PSN or on Steam, you can kind of find the other guy, but it's a really tiresome process, to be honest, and there isn't really a way to communicate at all if they are on the opposite platforms, and the in-game chat is super bare bones, so it doesn't feel like there is a sense of community, right? And this is something that is missing because we had that during the Street Fighter 4 days. It was a lot easier to message people on PSN or Xbox Live, and I kinda do miss that. So I think what Capcom can do is have one of these early Mortal Kombat and Injustice games, 100-man lobbies, where players will be able to join up in these lobbies, have a general chat where everyone can talk, and obviously you will have the ability to personal message each of these guys, maybe invite them to games, invite them to your replay channel, invite them to training mode or matches, maybe a couple of players to an endless lounge or like a lobby. There's a lot that can be done, and obviously a lot of this have been done in other games, but one thing that I haven't seen in a fighting game yet, and Capcom can really work this into Street Fighter 6, is have Twitch integration. What I mean by this is have a lobby that is dedicated to CPT streams, so players who are joining up in this lobby can kinda have their own mini Twitch chat going on as they are watching the tournament in the game application, and that is important, and kinda bet on who's gonna win, and just have a strong sense of community in the game. I think this will go a long way in making the experience of having the game and playing it a lot more fun. Now I know that I have said I will not be talking about the online netcode because obviously it's a given that it should be good. What I do want to talk about is the online ranking system, because the ranking system in Street Fighter 5 is probably the most stressful ranking system I have ever seen. Period. Honestly, in all games I have played, I know so many players who reach like their the milestone ranks that they set for themselves, and then they never touch it. Some people quit altogether, and some will just stick to casual or make Smurf accounts and try to play on these ones. And this is because the ranking system is very harsh. Street Fighter V in general is a very harsh game. It's easy to get snowballed, it's easy to get flustered. Now add a ranking system that is so punishing that if you happen to get a new rank, you lose it in one loss. That is kind of ridiculous, to be honest. I know a lot of people are asking for a ranking per character system, kind of like what Tekken or Soul Calibur have, where your rank is tied to your character, but I don't think this essentially fixes the issue. What you need to know is that in 3D games like Tekken, a lot of players play a large number of the roster, while in a game like Street Fighter or 2D fighting games in general, people tend to be more specialized and play only a handful. So what will happen if it's a ranking per character system is that you will reach the rank you desire with your own character, and then what? Like, do you continue playing and risk losing it in one loss, or do you keep going, and hopefully get better? Or maybe you will just end up being smurfing, but then you are kind of fighting smurfs all the time. I don't think it works really, to be completely honest. I think what needs to happen is a buffer system, and Capcom had that in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. We know that gold is at 4k, right? So let's say that you just made gold and then you lost one match. Now you went back to 3.8k. What needs to happen is you will retain the gold rank. Even at 3.8k, you are still gold. Maybe you will lose the rank if you happen to drop below like 2k, but as long as you have already made it and didn't lose a drastic amount of points, you still get to keep that rank. I think this will be a really good solution to help the players keep going and kinda not be so anxious as they are playing. My final non-gameplay related wish for Street Fighter 6 is having a bold, new and different art style to Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5. In many ways, the art style of Street Fighter 5 was a more refined version of the Street Fighter 4's art style, and what this have resulted in is a game where a lot of players, especially what you can call casuals or the untrained eyes, pretty much not really being able to see Street Fighter 5 as an upgrade to Street Fighter 4, right? A lot of people think they look the same, and obviously if you have played these games, you know that there's a lot of differences, but to the untrained eyes they are very similar. And one other thing that makes this even more important is that Street Fighter 5 had a lot of baggage, and I mean, I'm gonna be quite frank, a lot of bad reputation with the launch and pretty much the state that Street Fighter 5 came out in. And obviously a lot of people don't like the game. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to Street Fighter 5. So with Street Fighter 6, Capcom needs a fresh start, and a bold and new art style is a very important tool in showing that they mean a new and fresh start, right? They need to separate themselves from the past. They need to move on. In general, I think Street Fighter 6 need to move on. I would like to see less emphasis, to be honest, on the World Warriors, maybe kinda dabble more on the Alpha, 3, or maybe like general Capcom IPs in general, to be completely honest. I wish that the day would come where even when Street Fighter crossovers with something, it's not always Street Fighter 2. I really wish that we can see that, and I hope that Street Fighter 6 can be the game to do that. Now, I don't want to see a realistic looking Ryu and Chun-Li running around, to be completely honest. I still want to see the game in a stylized fashion, but I do think it needs to look completely different to what we had in Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, and I do think it's really important. It's one of the things that Capcom needs to nail. The game needs to look impressive and cool. With games like Project L, like DNF, they need to deliver. And that is pretty much it. Let me know what are your wishes. What do you want to see in Street Fighter 6? We've already talked about the roster, we've already talked about the gameplay, so this was more about the features. I would love to hear your own feedback below. I know a lot of people like customization. Personally, I'm not a fan of customization in fighting games. Story, I know a lot of people care about the story, but I doubt, to be honest, Capcom will be able to deliver a strong story mode. I would much prefer the arcade endings and having them be coherent than a cinematic story mode that is just comically bad. I will be leaving a link to the Patreon page, the Discord server page, the Twitter and Twitch page. The plan is to go back and get back on the Twitch grind next week, hopefully, once everything settles down. Thank you very much for watching and stay safe.